Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that lemon light city, sweet Hope, Chicago. Tune 2 is fun.
Thank you, Marty. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hersh and myself. Dial us up on the web, ntnm.org, and you can watch all our shows on YouTube over there. Community policing, we're all big on that. caps24.org. Sonny Hersh, my entire technical crew, is the chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District. You can find all the meetings for the 24th District on the site, and that's Rogers Park, West Rogers Park, and Edgewater. And for the rest of the city, dial 311. I've got a couple of announcements. This coming Monday, that's I believe that's June 14th, over at Thillins, is the Tournament of Heroes softball game, and that's brought to you by the Westridge Chamber of Commerce. That'll be between the police department and the fire department. I believe the gates open around 5:30, maybe 6 o'clock. You can call the chamber at 773-743-6022. And you really want to be there, especially because once a year I get to be a baseball announcer, and I will be your announcer that particular evening. And I don't know if my next guest who needs no introduction will be checking out Don Rickles that night.
In the spirit of Jack Brickhouse, I remember when Brickhouse used to be the announcer out there.
And by the way, in the spirit of Jack Brickhouse, I got my first professional gig partially because of Jack Brickhouse.
Is that right?
Yeah. I went to a radio school right after high school.
Holy cow.
And it was 1969. I was 17 years old, and it was the last game of the year. I had been an usher at Wrigley Field. I called up to find out if I could get a booth in the press box and do a play-by-play of the game from there. And the Cubs were very nice and let me in there. And I went to Jack Brickhouse, and I introduced myself. He was so nice. He let me interview him before the game. And he actually sent Len Johnson, who was his play-by-play guy, who was his sidekick, he sent him over to do 2 innings of color with me as the announcer.
How about that?
Which was really terrific. And I've always been grateful to Jack Brickhouse. Of course, he passed away, but my guy has always been Jack Brickhouse. Harry Carey was terrific, but he was never Jack Brickhouse. Jack Brickhouse was my guy.
And Pat was a sweetheart. His wife was Pat. Pat Brickhouse was a sweetheart too.
So yeah, I owe Jack Brickhouse a debt, and thanks, because he's basically reprehensible for getting me here in the first place, in part at least. But I used that audition tape to get my job as a play-by-play announcer in Morris, Illinois.
Okay.
So anyway, that worked out very nicely. Of course, this is Alderman Bernie Stone, and you know what? You've got a whole bunch of stuff coming up in the neighborhood, so why don't we get our announcements and stuff out of the way?
All right. On June 17th, which is next week, is our health fair in our ward headquarters, which is
6199 North Lincoln.
Thank you.
Second floor of the Dress Barn in Lincoln
Over
Village.
the Dress Barn.
You know.
And we look forward. That'll be between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Free coffee and free blood pressure and lots of information and giveaways. On June 23rd, we will have the Secretary of State, Jesse White, with their mobile driver service facility, renewing driver's license, state IDs, which will be on between 9 and 3 p.m., also in the ward headquarters. And that'll be a terrific thing for people to get their driver's license renewed or get their state ID. And our second date for
now, they're going to take pictures there too and everything.
Oh yes, the whole ball of wax. And
I got mine coming up later this year. Should find out if I can get it done early.
I'm sure you can.
Oh
yes.
Yeah, and I better get there before the legislature raises the fee on it too.
And on our second day, you'll remember on June 2nd we had our first date for buying your city vehicle sticker. Our second date is July 7th, and that's between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. We're trying to get it for an extra hour till 6 p.m. Our second...
and that's with City Clerk
Miguel
Devalle, who I'm a fan of.
July 7th. at the ward headquarters, and that will be on July 7th. I'll repeat that again. So I would remind everybody that there is a elevator in the building, so you don't have to climb the stairs. Now, remember, if you don't have your sticker by July 15th, there's a major $40 fee for a late fee. So you're supposed to have it actually on June 30th, but there's a grace period till July 15th. So July 7th, you can purchase your vehicle sticker in our office between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m.
And by the way, speaking of dates, on Wednesday, June 24th, the Illinois State Crime Commission is making the mistake of honoring me, Sonny.
How about that?
Yeah, amazing. Sonny, you want to get it on? You getting it on camera? Anyway, I want to, and by the way, next week we're going to have Jerry Elsinore, who's the executive director of the Illinois State Crime Commission, on. And I want to thank Rhonda Brunke, who I've been talking to. And Sheriff Tom Dart, by the way, one of Time's 100 most influential people, is the person that actually nominated me. So, yeah.
You know that...
It's a good thing they didn't know I'm broke.
You know that a guest on one of your previous shows who happened to tape at the same time I'm taping, Terry O'Brien is being honored by Ed Kelly. He didn't mention it, did he?
I didn't know that. Who's he being honored by?
On Ed Kelly Sports Night.
Oh, very nice.
Which I think is coming up in about 2 weeks.
Wow. So, yeah. Hey, Terry's a great guy. So
and he's getting a civic award from that group that Ed Kelly heads up. And Ed Kelly Sports Night is a night that everybody wants to attend because it's a great night. Boom Boom Mancini, is it?
The boxer?
Boxer is also being honored that same night. So it'll be a big night, and that'll be over at White Eagle.
Oh, on Milwaukee.
Yes.
Yeah, very nice. Now, okay, so let's start talking something about neighborhood developments. Well, let me ask a couple questions, because somebody just told me, we talked about this 3 weeks ago, but somebody just, I've heard from about 3 or 4 people already that Agudath Israel of West Rogers Park, who has their synagogue in the basement of KINS, purchased a property at Pratt in California for a synagogue, but probably hasn't approached you yet.
No, I've been told that that's true.
Okay.
And that, in fact, I think the deal was closed last Friday.
Interesting. So, okay. Do you think that's a good place for a synagogue, or?
Why not?
Okay.
California is like the street, the avenue of synagogues. I know when I was last year when I was on the cruise and went to Morocco, there's actually a street called the Avenue of Synagogues.
Wow.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. That's kind of cool. Morocco, I love Moroccan food. I can't plug the kosher restaurant where I can get it, but I do like that stuff.
That's in Casablanca. There's a street called Avenue of Synagogues.
That's very cool. That's very cool. And California certainly here is the Avenue of Synagogues.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So what else? I mean,
it's better than a garage.
It's a lot. Yeah. No offense, Marshall. The synagogue there. And listen, those guys. The basement they have, they're in the basement of KINS, and it's really pretty fancy over there.
I didn't know who had purchased it, but I knew it was being purchased for a synagogue.
Agudath Israel of West Rogers Park.
Okay, well, that's fine.
And Rabbi Weinreb is the rabbi there. He's a nice guy.
Good.
Very nice guy.
Terrific.
So, okay, how's the school doing?
As somebody was, this is really pretty funny. Somebody was passing around an email saying that the school, a group of rabbis had gotten to Mayor Daley, and Mayor Daley had granted them a moratorium, and the construction on the school had ceased.
Yeah.
Now, anybody who goes down Whipple will see that the construction that had not ceased, that the construction is going right ahead, and there is no moratorium. But I suppose it makes somebody happy to spread the false rumors. That's not the first time a false rumor was spread. Remember the time that building on the corner of Sacramento and North Shore, somebody said that was a mosque.
Right, I do remember
It's a
that.
single-family residence.
Yeah.
And then they spread a false rumor also that was a mosque. Well, the same guy must be spreading this rumor too.
Yeah, let me ask you. You know, one of the things I ate by some friends on Friday night, and I've heard this from about 4 or 5 different people. That there's some of the people who were opposed to the school are claiming that they were told originally that there was only supposed to be for 180 people. Have you heard that? Do you know anything about that? Or
the school was built for 700 to 900 students. They also said that there isn't enough students coming out of Boone or Clinton to make up a sufficient population for the new school, which is absolutely ridiculous. There's enough to not only fill up the new school, but to overcrowd the new school.
Wow.
But that's not the point. The point is that the Board of Education made a survey long ago and did a actual count based on at that particular time, and certainly it would accommodate 900 students, and the student body existed at that particular time. And they drew the boundaries as I passed them out at the meeting that I held for the neighbors, and I passed out a sheet showing the actual boundaries. And the boundaries were drawn based on the survey that the Board of Education had made. Now, if this is another one of those false rumors that people go around and spread around. Now, the problem. Somebody else has said neither school is overcrowded. Now, anybody who has children at either school or teaches at the school is astounded that anybody could make statements like this, because the school is obviously overcrowded. When you're having classrooms in the halls, you're having classrooms on the stage in the case of Clinton, you know the schools are overcrowded. Yet they continue to spread these false statements. Anybody who goes to these schools can see this in a moment. When you have 40 or more children in a classroom, you know the school is overcrowded. And why would you say these things? Why do they make these statements? Well, I don't like to say this, but in some cases, it's well, maybe I shouldn't say it.
Okay.
I'll hold back on making a statement that may be misinterpreted.
Okay. So anything else going on with the school at all, or?
The school, the construction is going along according to schedule. It'll be ready for a student body in September of 2010. That is the intent, and that is what it's slated for.
So a year from September.
Yes. It continues to amaze me how people continue to talk about creating a street where it's impossible to create one. I don't know whether they expect us to put a bridge from Whipple across a private property, but that's what they want to do. It's impossible. It's an impossibility. We try to work it out. It's impossible. I am not going to create a situation that'll put students in the school at jeopardy, nor am I going to try and create a problem in one to solve what isn't the problem by creating a problem. So this is the way it's going to be, and if these people would just resolve themselves that this is under construction, this is what's going to be, and that's the way it's going to be.
Okay. Any okay? Is the economy getting any better? Or are people buying property at all? Or is there anything new being built?
Well, I wish I could say that the economy was getting better. I really can't say that. From all the reports I'm getting from the city financial people, the economy is not getting better. The federal government keeps telling us how much better it's getting, and how they're looking towards the near future for recovery. We don't see it. From the city's standpoint, every sign is an indication the economy is not getting better. I wish I could say the exact opposite. Unemployment is increasing. There is no real recovery in sight. I wish I could say the opposite, but unfortunately I can't say the opposite. I'll give you an easy example. Come to a zoning committee meeting where we would sit. We'd sit there usually from 10 o'clock in the morning till 1:30 in the afternoon. We now sit from 10 o'clock in the morning to maybe 11:30.
So a lot less going on.
So a lot less going on, which means there's a lot less business before the committee. Now, the fact that there's a lot less business before the committee means there's a lot less activity going on in the real estate market. And whether people like it or not, it's the real estate market that's a driving factor in our economy. And
our values built on the values of homes and land
and unfortunately, that tells the story, quite frankly. Yes, there's still construction going on. Yes, there is some movement going on, but it's not what it should be or could be.
Let me ask you, one of the things I've been reading about, and this is nothing you voted on, but one of the things that I saw in the paper that really struck a chord with me is that the city is now going back 5 years to tax people who sold their beers ticket PSLs privately, and they're going back 5 years to tax them. What do you think about that?
I think that the Revenue Department has always been extremely hungry.
Okay.
You'll recall my description of the director as one who shakes dead bodies to see what coins will fall out of their pockets.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of theirs at all.
Well, I am not only not a fan, I'm a critic. I think that, I give you another example. When the court orders one of the parties in a divorce action to deed the property to the other party as a part of the agreement between the parties at the time of the divorce, the Revenue Department has demanded that they put revenue stamps on the deed so that the city can collect the transfer tax.
What?
Now, on 3 separate occasions, I've introduced legislation to stop them from doing this, supported by the Chicago Bar Association, because it's ridiculous. It's part of the settlement. It's not a taxable transaction. Yeah. Now, you talk about going back 5 years.
Yeah.
This is even worse. And when you make a settlement as part of a property settlement, a divorce, that is not a taxable transaction. That's not. There's no quid pro quo passing between the parties. Yeah. It's the division of the property as a result of a divorce decree, and that is not the exchange of monies for the purchase of land. And it's ridiculous to try and there's enough trauma in a divorce action that you don't have to. And our transfer tax is a major cost to tax, let's say, somebody who's gone through the trauma of divorce, and then to tax them on top of it, and it's a heavy tax. It's thousands of dollars.
Wow. That's criminal.
I think it is.
You know, one of the things about the city, when I do rent a car occasionally, it's a slightly different thing. But I think so many people in the city now have a feeling that the city, instead of the city trying to help people and help the citizens of Chicago, it's becoming a gotcha deal.
Well, they chased almost every car leasing company. They chased most of the auto dealers out of the city. This goes back all the way to Jane Byrne's time. This didn't start yesterday. They've chased all the major appliance dealers out of the city. Now, I don't see how, by chasing businesses out of the city, how you're creating a business atmosphere in the city.
I'll agree with you.
And I've never been in favor of these types of transactions. I think it's bad. It's bad for the financial future of the city.
Yeah. Now, one of the plans I like that is there. Have you tried? You talked about the city's got all this art and all this real estate. Have you? I know you tried at one time to try to use that stuff.
Yes. Well, the city finally accepted my sale of real estate idea. It was in the last budget. They accepted that, and they made it part of the budget. Except nobody's buying real estate now.
That's a definite problem.
Now here's an example. Now I foresaw, and I warned the city in advance of what was going to happen to the real estate market. I warned them, let's say, at least a year, possibly a year and a half in advance of what was going to happen. I predicted that the transfer tax would fall by at least $50 million. They wouldn't change their projections. I was wrong. It didn't fall $50 million. It fell $60 million. And as a result, that's part of that shortfall that they're talking about.
Yeah.
That's one of the major items. It represents something like a third of the total shortfall. And not only that, but when the state made the deal for the CTA, I warned the chairman, Julie Hamos, not to use the transfer tax as the basis to rescue the CTA. She didn't listen to me. They did it. That's one of the reasons that the CTA was in dollar trouble. Now, you see, when you see these things coming and you warn people and they don't listen to you, that's part of what you run into. So then I tried to recover some of the money by trying to, at the time when the market was still good, when we were financially stable, sell off real estate, sell off vacant property. They wouldn't accept it. They finally accepted, but when the market collapses. So now it's too late to sell off the property for now. Well, but it's a good idea that they accepted it, because as the market improves, then it's in place now that it can be used. And we still have a heck of a lot of vacant property that we can't and city property that we can't sell. The second thing we try to do is try and sell them on the idea of selling art, but not selling the actual art. You see, there's a lot of permanent art that you don't have to sell. You just sell them the name, like the naming rights, like the ballparks.
Okay.
Where you sell them a right to put their name on it, like something like the Picasso. But the Picasso, you see, doesn't belong to the city. It belongs to a different municipal authority. But it's like the Picasso, where they could put a naming thing on it.
Yeah, like Joe Chuck Chase anchovies or something like that.
Comiskey Park,
Hi, Joe. Thanks for bringing the Alderman. U.S. Cellular Field.
Cellular
in that case.
Field, yeah. So you put their name, like a big company could put their name on it. So-and-so's Picasso.
Yeah, people don't realize Wrigley Field, that's actually a gun, people.
Yeah. But that is things like that, you see.
Yeah.
And so and the city has has a tremendous amount of art. And not only art, we have the 1% art program where every building that was built we set aside 1% of the cost of construction for art purposes.
Which I think is nice.
Which is good, yeah, of course. And then we have a lot of paintings and we have a lot of statuary that could be with little titles on there. Eventually, somebody could actually get ownership of it too. So, but it would be a good thing, and in some cases where you have prints and things of that nature, they could actually acquire the art. And we have a lot of stuff like that where people would be delighted to get something, just like when we sell off the banners once a year. These are things that we have thousands of things like that we could be selling off to get it. It's, people criticize the mayor, for instance, for selling off the assets. They shouldn't have criticized him. They should have congratulated him for selling it when the market was high. Now, those things, the same things that they criticized him for selling off wouldn't be worth a tenth of what he sold them off for.
You probably have trouble finding a buyer.
You couldn't. Nobody could finance it either. That's why the Midway deal fell apart.
Yeah, but at least you got $100-something million deposit out of it.
Yeah, but $125 million. But you see, what happened there is, you know how much we paid for Midway?
Oh, no.
Zero.
Really?
We in 1980, when Jane Berny was mayor, we bailed the Chicago public schools. They couldn't sell their bonds. We bailed them out of a terrible situation. As a result of bailing them out, we acquired title to Midway Airport. And we didn't pay anything for it. We just lent our name to the school board so that they could continue to finance the Board of Education. So as a result, we acquired Midway Airport.
Nice.
So we actually paid nothing other than using our name and our credit. So the $125 million that we got as a result of the deal falling through was actually found money. It's like picking up $125 million on the street.
I'll take 5%, please.
You want a finder's fee, huh?
Hey, I'll take a not finder's fee. I mean, money's money.
In the Skyway. Do you remember how many years the Skyway was a white elephant?
Yeah, definitely.
And then
I'm from that area.
And then we sold it, made almost $2 billion on the sale of.
I thought that was terrific.
It was a lease, actually.
Yeah. Because you get it back after 99 years.
Yeah, but in the meantime,
you may not want it.
Somebody's making money on it. So what?
Yeah.
And the meters, everybody's criticizing the meters. What? They're criticizing it because of the cost. It would have cost the same thing, because if we didn't sell the lease on that, we'd have had to raise the money. We'd have had to raise the price of it anyway. It hadn't been raised in 20 years.
Yeah, well, the city would have found other creative ways to shake us upside down and made sure our pockets fell out.
You're talking about revenue. We're so bad in debt on everything else, they would have had to find a way to raise revenue.
No, definitely. But at this point, it's Mickey's hands are getting there. This is 28 and a half minutes.
Okay.
So I want to thank my guest, Alderman Bernard Stone, 50th
Thank
Ward,
you.
also Vice Mayor of the City of Chicago. Thanks, Joe Chuckshay. Thanks, entire technical crew, Sonny Hersh. Next week, we've got President Terry O'Brien of the Water Reclamation District. Hi, Kathleen. As well as Jerry Elsinore from the Illinois State Crime Commission. Those guys are honoring me, among other people, and thanks Tom Dart, too, for that, on June 24th. June 14th, which is coming up this coming Monday, over at Dillon Stadium, the Tournament of Heroes softball game. 5:30 is the gate. I'm your announcer. We're going to get into Springfield stuff, too. Springfield hasn't quite adjourned yet, but we're going to get into the Springfield stuff real soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.